What's the most "are you really that stupid" thing you've ever heard? I'm late, but my mother once years ago said cats are cold-blooded because they like to lay in the sun. We immediately said, "What? No, did you go to school?" 4 or 5 months ago she doubled down on this, stating the exact thing for the exact reason. I told her, "Are you cold-blooded because you like to sunbathe?" She still thinks cats are cold-blooded. Someone in my freshman year college class. Professor, do you think dinosaurs existed? Professor, there seems to be a lot of evidence in favor of that conclusion. What do you think? Someone, I don't think they did. I mean, how do we know they were called dinosaurs? They could have been called anything. In high school, when this girl found out prisoners used to be sent to Australia, she said that's stupid. To be fair, anyone who actually manages to swim from Australia to Europe deserves to live. Hey, thanks for the silver stranger. In high school during global studies we were talking about South America, and this chick asked which country was Africa. When I worked at a call center and someone said Q for cucumber to me. Ever hear of those TTY free online IQ tests? My friend took one of these, but the one she took was even worse than the regular ones. It was obviously not a valid IQ test and probably made by either a 12-year-old, a drunk person, or a drunk 12-year-old. Anyways, one question was, what is your favorite food out of these 4? Which was already a really bad question. I didn't think it would get worse until I saw what do you think of the iPhone? I don't remember the 4th option, but out of I love the iPhone. It's good technology. And what's an iPhone? The smartest choice was what's an iPhone? Ridiculous. Your IQ is higher by being ignorant of the world around you. Anyways, to the main point. She got a high score and put it on her resume. I unfortunately can't find the IQ test. TL. Doctor. Girl takes TTY inaccurate online IQ test. Gets a high score. Puts it on her resume. From a customer, how do you type a capital 4? Girl I used to date was convinced that used cars came with insurance. We went out to look at cars for her one weekend, and on the way to the first lot, it came up in conversation. She absolutely did not believe me to the point that it was almost an argument. Salesman told her the same thing. So she demanded we go to another dealership. We visited 4 dealerships that day and all of them told her the same thing. Relationship didn't last much longer, but earlier this year she was pulled over and arrested for a litany of offenses including a DUI. But surprise, she had no auto insurance. I was driving with my mother on a pitch black night. My mother said the stars weren't out because there was no moon for them to reflect off of. Love you, mum. I work at an animal shelter and a woman asked me if we had any dogs that didn't poop. I told her no, all dogs poop. So she asked about cats. I knew a guy in high school who thought, in Asian women only, that the urethra, vagina, and anus were arranged horizontally. Something like leg, urethra, vagina, anus, leg. He was stunned when we went over female anatomy during our senior year. Blowing balloons up with my own air. No gas etc. With my wife prior to a party. Wife. No. Don't blow the balloons that fall to the floor. Blow up the floating balloons. Me. Look of disbelief. What? You need to use helium for that? Wife. No. You're just not bothering. My sister's friend, who is 22, believes that why you fly in an airplane. Once you are in the air you just levitate there and the earth rotates under you. When the plane is over the destination the plane lowers again and that's what happens. She wants to be a teacher. A woman once asked me if Antarctica was really hot. Because Mexico is south of us and it's really hot. And other countries are south of us and they are really hot too. This woman was 40 years old. My friend thought due to time zone differences between the US and the UK you could place a bet in the UK on an NFL game that had happened in the US and cheat the system because it hadn't happened yet in the UK. A previous coworker of mine thought that when looking at images of hurricanes, what she was seeing was the ocean swirling and not clouds. She had a bachelor's degree. Can you imagine how ducked we would be if she was right? I once heard a girl say that she doesn't believe in miscarriages. Edit. Another good one is that if she asks is something's gluten-free, she asks is that gluten? Meaning the exact opposite. She also said she is going to become a Navy SEAL. She is not in the Navy. We were out of state and she said, oh wow. Wild cows. They were not wild cows. I remember sitting in a World Civ class in high school and a girl in my class asked how people outside of the US lived, since they were in a desert. The teacher tried to have her clarify, which desert? To which the girl responded with, the one outside the US. Convinced that every single nation outside of the US was comprised solely of deserts and that any major cities she had heard of, i.e., London, Paris, etc., were actually US cities. While in a really long car trip with my parents, we were discussing countries we'd like to visit. My mother said she'd like to visit Japan to see the Great Wall of China. My dad and I don't let her forget. My 22-year-old niece said she didn't want to see a female gynecologist because she would turn into a lesbian after the doctor examined her. There's always a 50% chance of rain. Think about it. It will either rain or it won't, so that's gotta always be 50%. This is why I always play the lottery. Either I win or I don't. That's 50%. I haven't won yet though, which is somewhat surprising given the odds. Someone once asked me and my twin sister if we don't mistake ourselves for the other one. I like to think she was joking, but I don't think she was. During a color war trivia game at summer camp, we were asked to name places the Olympics has been held. Someone mentioned Athens and the girl next to me started to lose her mind laughing. I asked her why and she responded, isn't Athens that place from Harry Potter? 10/10. Edit. I love that this turned into a Greek economy discussion thread. The internet works in mysterious ways. I had a customer yell at me that their donuts were supposed to be buy one get one free instead of half price. I had to explain how 1/2 plus 1/2 was 1. Sure. My mistake. I can refund you the $3.99 and ring you up with the correct discount. Dart. Okay. With the discount your new total is $3.99. Edit. I regret my choice of $3.99 to illustrate the technique. Someone in high school thought she couldn't get pregnant because she never did an L, only PIV-SX. When questioned about it, it made perfect sense to her, because the vagina isn't where the babies come from. She thought women pooped out babies. My friend wrote on the title page of his high school essay, sound it out. Edit. Some background. It was in the hallway before class started that I noticed it in his hand. Probably stared for a good 10 seconds trying to figure out what it meant. Then it hit me. Like a good friend, I stayed silent and let him hand it in. Where's Saudi Arabia on this map? Map of Africa. Where's Jamaica then? Still the map of Africa. Okay. So there was this mother that I once met. I'll call her Karen. So Karen is your typical MLM mum. She's in like 3 of them, including an essential oil one. One day, her son gets sick. Instead of getting cold medicine or whatever, she feeds him essential oils. Of course, he gets sicker. So the school he goes to treats him right. After hearing about this, his mum said, and I quote, "Don't give him that. The big pharma chemicals will make him immune to the essential oils." My wife was telling her sorority sisters about how she was allergic to wheat. One of the girls responded with, "Why don't you just eat white bread instead then? What do you think it's made of? White?" When I was in high school history class, this dumb as a brick girl asked our teacher, who was from the South, but we weren't even remotely close to the South. Still no excuse if she'd ever owned a slave. Related. In my high school history class, the dumb as a brick girl told our black teacher that if I had a slave, I wouldn't want him to be black, because I wouldn't want people to think I was racist. This middle-aged woman I worked with at a fast food place was drinking a glass of super sweet tea when these words came out of her mouth. My doctor said that I may have diabetes. I don't understand how. Me while watching a semi-friend do 10 separate ATM transactions. Why are you taking out $200? 00 from the ATM in $20. 00 increments? You are just adding up the $2.50 fee. Semi-friend. It all adds up in the long run. Me. No shitty. It adds up to you wasting money. Semi-friend. No. Trust me. It adds up. Maybe they thought they were getting to. Phone customer. Can I pay with cash over the phone? Me. Edit. This was more than 10 years ago. Before cryptocurrency existed. I was working at a call center, making reservations for a dinner and show type place. If they reserved online or over the phone, they had to prepay. I asked this customer if I heard them correctly and she verified that yes. She would like to pay with cash over the phone. There was nothing but seriousness in her tone. I informed her she could pay with cash at the box office. However, over the phone I could only accept a credit card. I did not laugh at her or make her feel stupid, but inside I was dying. While discussing taking a girl's trip and going on a cruise, my friend once said, I think it would be pretty easy. We could just get a cruise out of Dallas. Everyone paused. Worked with someone who would say it's Friday somewhere, unironically on Tuesdays. Edit. Since this is being brought up, we had MF shifts only at the time, which the co-worker was working. So this wasn't a situation where they were talking about a shortened week or having Tuesday as their own personal Friday. World history class in high school. This girl really asked how we won the American Revolution when the Germans had airplanes. I had to remember to breathe. Explaining to coworker that Africa is a huge continent with dozens of countries. And no. Drive to Alaska. Get a car ferry to Russia. Drive down through Asia to the Middle East and get to Egypt. Max 4-5 hour drive. Teacher in middle school was playing a cassette tape for the class that was a bit distorted. So she attempted to improve the audio by adjusting the antenna. In my communications class in high school, it came to my teacher's attention that a few people in the class, which had about 15 students, didn't have a basic grasp of world geography. So he pulled up an interactive world map on his computer and connected it to the projector. Okay, so this is where we are. This is, class responds with North America. Okay, and down here, cursor is hovering over South America. Two girls expressed confusion over what it was. So he told them it was South America. Next, he moved the cursor over Africa, and both of these girls, in unison, with full confidence, blurted out East America. Later in the lesson, one of the girls said that she thought North Korea was in the center of the US, and that's why we have so many problems with them. My main concern was that I was in the same school district as them for all 12 years, and I wondered how the same system that worked for me had completely failed to work for them. Guy at my high school asked a biology teacher if humans photosynthesize. When told that we don't, he responded, but how come when I go in the sun my skin turns brown? He was 18. That's because he is transitioning to autumn season. During my senior seminar for an anthropology degree, a fellow student asked if married people started to look like each other as they grew old together because the genetic material they were exchanging during sex was becoming part of the other person's genome. Do girls in your country get their periods? Former co-worker of mine and I were walking through a department store during the holidays. There's an area dedicated to ugly sweaters and one had the Star of David all over it. My co-worker points to it and says, "Oh, isn't that sweater for that Jewish holiday? What's it called? Holocaust?" I wish her the best. Biological mum of our former foster son Talking to his court-appointed lawyer guardian ad litem. He doesn't need to go to the doctor. All babies get ear infections. She had zero idea that he could suffer from hearing loss if she ignored them enough times. Not to mention how miserable he felt. When I worked at a chemical facility, we had a genius production supervisor who figured out that you could increase the RPMs of the mixer without overheating the batch if you just remove the mixing blade. So it's just a shaft rotating inside a drum of viscous liquid. Then he blamed the guy running the QA testing, me, when the batch failed badly. Employee looking in box where we kept the name tags. Which one is my name tag? Girl at uni didn't know chips were made from potatoes. When asked if the huge potatoes on the bags didn't give it away, she said she thought it's only for design and she never reads the ingredients list. She doesn't have time for that. Reminds me of a coworker who was vegetarian and said lettuce is the potato chip of the vegetarian world. We replied back with, potato chips are the potato chip of the vegetarian world. In Wales, we get the option to use an ATM machine in either Welsh or English. Myself, a Welsh friend and an English friend were at an ATM. My English friend asked my Welsh friend why he always used the ATM in Welsh. His response was less people can understand Welsh. So less people can read my PIN number. Edit. Till it seems like only the Welsh say ATM machine and PIN number. And yes, I'm an idiot for saying less rather than fewer, so sue me. Watching Dynasties. British Attenborough documentary featuring chimps. Attenborough introduces the alpha male chimp on screen as David. Friend asks how they know he's called David. Edit. Thank you, kind stranger. My first gold. I'd like to dedicate this shiny nugget to David. R.I.P. my dude. You will never know how much you meant to us. David the chimp, not David Attenborough. Dynasties is on in the UK on BBC Sunday evenings. Where Attenborough truly belongs. The natural order of things. Americans. Don't know when you can see it, but I assume if you have a VPN you can watch it via the BBC iPlayer website. I knew a couple in my hometown. They were both out drinking and he decided to drive them home. Both drunk. He gets pulled over and they impound the car and take him to jail for a DUI, and the officers decide to drive the girl home. She gets home, gets in her car, and drives to the police station to pick her boyfriend up. The officers notice it's the same girl they just drove home and they arrested her for drinking and driving. Edit. Thanks for the gold. To further add to this story, my hometown, within the county, was ranked top 10 for least educated counties in CA to give everybody an idea. Edit 2. Tula County. Edit 3. One girl's stupid drunkenness is another man's Reddit gold. Thanks for the second gold. Why do I have to clean the oven if it just gets dirty again? Thanks for the PMs. This used to be me as a kid when I wouldn't want to clean my room until my mum one day blurted out, "Why do you clean your ass if it'll get dirty again?" Never left my room dirty since. I was on a school trip to Germany and we visited the casino in Baden-Baden. One kid asked, "Do the Native Americans run the casinos here too?" I almost fell over. Edit. I've seen a lot of people ask why a school trip went to a casino. We just visited it during the day as a part of our day in Baden-Baden because of its historical significance. Since it was during the day, there were no games being played and it was a guided tour. None of the kids gambled. A few years ago I was traveling in Kenya and a few of us shelled out for a safari. Our guide was great and at one point said all the names for the animals in Swahili. Simba is lion, for example. An American then asked, "Did you always call them that? Or did you decide to change it after The Lion King came out?" I really wanted to apologize to the tour guide in that moment, who had to respond with respect to that guy. Edit. Yes. I'm sure he wasn't joking. I was explaining to my mother-in-law that the reason why my hubby and I were having fertility issues was that I don't ovulate properly, aka don't release an egg. She thought about it for a moment and asked with all seriousness why we couldn't just use one of my husband's eggs. I just looked at my husband trying not to laugh and stated that only women have eggs and men have sperm. That is pretty basic biology. I was probably 8 or 9 at the time. It was summertime and I was bitching about the heat. Mum begins to tell me when she was a kid. On hot nights, they would sleep underneath their beds, on the cooler floor. Until that time she got bitten on the foot by a brown recluse spider. My first question: did you die? My family and I were watching a program on TLC about cavemen. There were actors dressed up like cavemen, doing caveman things. As the narrator explained the scientific theory around what they thought their lives were like, my sister was just in awe watching this. Mouth slightly open, eyes open wide. During a commercial break she asked the room, how did they get the cameras back there? We will never let her forget that she said that. Edit. Here's some common answers for questions people have asked. No, she was not high. She was about 16 when she said this. The moment she said it, she knew she said something stupid. Tried to backpedal but the damage was already done. Yes. Back a long time ago TLC actually did have educational programming. I have no idea what documentary it was. I think I'll stop taking the pill. I think I'm infertile anyway and allergic to sperm. What makes you think that? After sex the sperm drips out of my vagina. Girl had obviously never heard of gravity. A work email. Me to my program manager. I'm the project manager. Regarding time off over the upcoming holiday season, I'm going to take vacation from 2. I have recorded this in the team calendar link. There will be no impact to our delivery timeline. Because mitigating reasons listed. Program manager. Please record your vacation in the team calendar. Also, will there be any impact on delivery timeline? Edit. My reply was done and no. Because apparently her attention span was 5 words tops. In high school, late 90s, won't work when Y2K happens. Or cars. I work in a door factory. I put doors on a router, set them somewhere, and my coworker puts glass in it and sends it off. I usually get ahead of my coworker, so I had multiple piles with different orders. My coworker asks which pile to start on, and I tell him the far right one. He goes for the one on the far left and I'm yelling at him, not that pile, the far right. He proceeds to go farther left and look for doors that aren't there. Comes to find out that this dude doesn't know his lefts or rights. I had to teach him the differences twice now. I showed him that trick you do with your left hand to make an L last time though, and he hasn't messed up since. A surprising amount of people in my life have thought that ham came from its own animal and had nothing to do with pigs. At least 2 of those people had this conversation while eating a ham sandwich after claiming not to eat pork. Edit. To everyone telling me that they make ham out of turkey. 2. These people thought there was some mystical animal out there that solely produced ham. Edit 2. Hey, I'm done now. Replies are turned off. A girl on my bus in high school always had to be the center of attention. We were on our way to a field trip somewhere. I don't really remember where, but she all of a sudden proudly screamed out, "My boyfriend gave me a sex last night." When someone finally asked her what she thought a sex was, her answer was, "We stuck Q-tips in our ears and moaned for a couple hours." Maybe not the actual dumbest thing I've ever heard, but definitely the one that sticks out for me. At an airport on a school trip to fly out to Berlin, teacher said throw away all liquids before going through security, and one of the other students said, "Miss, is water a liquid?" Single-handedly one of the most stupid things I've heard someone say. Edit. To be clear as well, this happened in the UK, and it wasn't asked because she was being clever. She was an extremely stupid person asking about whether the water in her bottle she was drinking from was a liquid.